Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your time. We're pushing a little bit late on schedule, so I'll do my part. I'll try and pick back up here and get us off to lunch as early as possible. For a lot of the people in the room, those who may have been in Accra, they've seen this before. The technology is from here. It was a development we did in conjunction with ConocoPhillips, so many of you in the room may have seen some of this information already. Hence, I'll be able to perhaps move through it a little bit more quickly. So the overview, we're going to discuss the improvements in the cement bond and the cement quality, provide an overview of the development, describe well site processes, explain how the technology works, give an overview of the diversity of plug and abandonment. We've heard that said here lots. There is no one silver bullet. Lots of these wells have diversity. Lots of the operators have different methodologies of how they want to attack these problems. Hence, there is a lot of diversity in how we solve these problems. As well, we're going to speak a little bit about lowering the environmental impact and lessening the exposure to things such as norm and reducing the amount of scrap that we end up putting into scrap yards. So improvements in the cement bond. I'm going to provide an overview of the development. It was, again, I mentioned, between us and ConocoPhillips. It was a request that involved a project in which the objective was to challenge the current abandonment philosophies. So we've talked about that here a little bit. It's not always about developing a new technology. It's often about developing a new way to do things. One of the major challenges being dealt with was cementing, specifically cementing tubulars when left in a static state. Cementing these tubulars in a manner that, when left in static state, would create microannuluses, problematic for long-term abandonment. Trying to resolve that in some way so that we could leave the tubulars or more of the tubulars in the wellbore for these operations. So the NOV solution was deployment of an agitator-like device installed and suspended inside of the production tubing. I'll have some animations later on. I'll go through and kind of explain that a little bit more. Use the movement created by the pulsing of the agitator to eliminate the pipe-on-pipe contact, improving the cement coverage and enabling the possibility or eliminating the possibility of this microannulus creation. The plan was developed and tested, carried out at a rig here in Aberdeen. The tests were as realistic as we could possibly create in a lab environment to most represent what was taking place in the wellbore. On the screen right now is a couple of screenshots of the vibration testing that we had done. So the test results show that with the axial and lateral vibration, we're able to get movement as far away as 2,000 feet from the agitation device. And it shows that the lateral and axial vibration, though it weakens the further it gets away, it was still substantial at the 2,000-foot mark. This screen here shows some more of the results that we were able to achieve, primarily showing that flow rate has a significant influence on the agitation or the movement of the pipe. We tested it at various different rates in conjunction with various different densities of cement, and we now have created a modeling program that we can tailor make for whatever flow regime may be available either by the well geometry or the rig geometry, what's left there for rig equipment. A couple of quick photos here showing us rigging up and testing. We put it into a flow loop, and we confirmed that the pulses did not negatively affect the cement. Originally, when we first started this off, the cementing organization that was involved in the project said, we're not comfortable, we don't know what that might do to our cement. So we had to provide additional testing to confirm and actually prove that this device enhances the mixture of the cement and improves the quality of the cement. So a little bit about the testing itself, the improvements in the bond. 5.5 production tubing. The process that takes place on the specific well sites that we've been involved in so far was cutting and raising the tubular to allow access into that area. Often that area is then logged to confirm that the 9 5/8 pipe behind has a proper cement bond, has some instances been proven already, in other instances they've had to prove at that time. Deploying the Valkyrie system via wireline and placing it at the bottom of that production tubing, the 5.5 production tubing, releasing the wireline from it, and then simply commencing the cement operation from surface. I'll have some animations here momentarily as well that'll show that. The technology itself, this is how it works. You can see there's a valve rotating inside of the tool, which creates a pressure drop. It opens and closes, opening and closing that valve, which is increasing and decreasing the flow area. I may need some help from the AV team here. If you can click on the right animation, thank you. So this first animation shows how the tool acts on pipe laying in the low side of the wellbore. We've done a quarter cutaway of the animation so you can see the pipe moving back and forth. It seems as though it might be a little bit exaggerated that you're getting that much movement, but in our testing that we did in the beginning, we were able to realize that that 5.5 tubing was moving and was only constrained by the 9 5/8 pipe that it was inside of. So we know we get it to move completely from side to side via the testing that we did. Second animation, if you would, please. This animation shows the effect of having the substructure, the area around the cement, vibrating or moving. It allows the cement to settle, and it's a very common practice used in a lot of construction processes. They'll put vibrating devices at the base of these towers when they're agitating cement in, building things like bridge decks. So this is a the full run of our animation. The scenario that I just walked through from start to finish, all in animation. This is what's been running on our loop outside. I'm sure most people have had a chance to stop by. That's the setting of a simple packer anchoring the device at the bottom of the production tubing. You can see the cement begin to be pumped here now. As the cement begins to cover the area, it moves, helps to move the pipe from that low side of the wellbore. Those two cutaways that we showed a moment ago, we'll go to them here in the animation next. So, case histories, lowering the risk. This was a funny image I found in one of the research documents I was doing preparing for this. The book of rules. There really isn't a clear set of rules. There isn't one book that's used. You work here, there's lots of UK law influence. In Ghana, when we were looking at the west coast of Africa, seemed to be a lot more likelihood to following the rules that were set out here. You go to the Gulf of Mexico, they're slightly different. Brazil's different yet again. So there's no one single book. In an effort to try and categorize the work that we've done, we did use some of the oil and gas rules from here, so to speak. We're going to look at the microannulus work carried out. These were some case studies we did. In the panel session I was in earlier, we talked about scope removal, And it's one of the reasons that led us to this type of a development versus, you know, maybe some of the more traditional milling developments that are still, you know, they're necessary, they're needed. But we targeted this. This first case history is a microanalysis of work carried out here in the North Sea in 2015. There was 58 days worth of work that took place on the rig. You know, we went through day by day, looked at all of the different operations that took place and the total cost that it adds up to. 58 days worth is a lot. The next one we looked at was also from 2015. It was another rig out here in the Gulf, or pardon me, in the North Sea, and its costs totaled up to be, again, a large amount of money. It's very painful. You can see why operators may, you know, try to resist this type of work when the expenditures are as heavy as they are. So we also realized that the silver bullet scenario, this isn't going to solve the jobs where you need a heavy lift rig. We're not promoting that if you truly need to have one of those 58-day operations because of other well conditions, this isn't necessarily the right solution. When we looked at the guidelines from the decommissioning studies that have been done, they categorize the type of work which this technology is suitable for into a bucket that is along the rigless type. It's suitable for the decommissioning work on the second barrier, so above the packer, and it's suitable for work where a light rig or a rigless campaign is going to be suitable for. So again, not trying to say that the 58-day rigs can be solved with this type of technology. However, if you've got that lighter abandonment process, one where you're trying to leave tubulars in place, this is a great enabler for that. So some of the actual field work that we've done, this was one of the first ones early on, cut depth at 9,000 feet, inclination of 30 degrees in the well, so we knew that they would be suffering from that pipe on the low side of the well bore. The volume of cement that we've pumped from the beginning onward has increased each time, almost every time. One of the best achievements we had was the equivalent of 3,100 feet of cement pumped into the annulus. It was drilled and logged, and we found that we had over 2,000 feet of good quality cement, which was, at that time, the best that operator had ever achieved. So, reducing some of the risks. Case study-wise, we've got 5 additional installations since becoming commercially available. And in the one specific operation, they've started to now leave second strings of pipe or second sections of pipe in there at the same time. So we're starting to see more and more of that leave the pipe behind, leave as much of the architecture in place as possible. So we're able to show from our testing and from what we've seen logging in the field, we've improved the cement quality, we've improved the bond, and we're enabling tubulars to be left in situ. Complementary to rigless initiatives, lowering the labor, lowering the HSE concerns, and providing a smaller footprint. We talked about norms a little bit earlier on, and it wasn't until the last time I was through here visiting with some of the customers, and one of the operators shared with me his value, the dollar that he felt it cost bringing pipe on shore, and he claimed just the removal of the norms from the inside of the tubulars and then the proper disposal of that was north of $150,000 worth. So each string of pipe that comes back to shore may have that much of a price tag attached to it, just cleaning it up. So by leaving the pipe in situ, leaving it in the wellbore, less individuals on the rig site have to trip it, touch it, handle it, less pipe coming back to the scrap yards, and in this instance, less is better. Saves a lot of money even just on that handling the contaminated product afterwards. So I kind of skipped through a little bit quick there on a few of the slides, but that kind of wraps that up.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mike. That was a good, I think, technical and product overview. as he says, some questions, I'm sure, on the equipment and the methodologies from the floor, please. There's one
I was
here.
gonna say, we've done well stacking it up next to lunch. Everybody wants to eat.
Hi, Bill Ingles, Expro. No, I think it's a really good application of technology that's been used, been out there, and applying it in a clever situation for well painting. The question I've got is, the field trials were up to 30 degrees inclination. Is there any intent to do it at a higher inclination?
Yeah, there hasn't been any reason we'd limit it. The primary operator in this instance has kind of put out a call to any other operators that are using it for the sake of a consortium trying to establish a database. And there is some talk about being used in a horizontal well here right away. So we don't have any results back from it. Wouldn't be that hard to potentially prove that the technology could work in a horizontal, but it would be a little more difficult to, put 2,000 or 3,000 feet of pipe in a test scenario into a horizontal and prove it. So we're probably down to having to wait until those jobs actually take place to hopefully get it drilled out and then proven afterwards.
Another question? Some of the P&A guys in the room, surely. This looks like pretty good technology to me. I guess they're all sold, Mike, huh?
Perfect.
Thanks for your time, Mike.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, Alistair saved the day. Thank you.
Alistair Buchanan, Statoil. Thanks for a very interesting presentation. Do you have any before and after, or with or without comparison results in terms of the actual tangible benefits at least to the logging results you get?
We've had the opportunity to view them, but the actual logs are our clients, and we haven't had permission to demonstrate those logs and share those logs. But we have seen, I referenced in there that we had over 2,000 feet of great bond. We just don't have the logs that are available for us to share. In some instances, I think they might be partners with you guys. We might be able to gain access to them on an individual ask type basis, though.
Yeah, thanks. I've seen some discussion, but that was a few years ago actually. So I was just curious what the latest status was on that. But thanks anyway. Thank you.
Thank you.
One more? We're okay for a couple of minutes? No, everyone's hungry, Mike. Mike,
Yeah,
thanks
perfect.
very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Super. Cheers, mate.